Hello, this video is for Stat 310 Handout 8 Part B and includes a discussion of the multiple comparisons for a two-way ANOVA model when the interaction effect is significant. All right, let's go ahead and get started then. So the example that we're looking at here in Handout 8 Part B is the Ritalin dosage therapy program example. What we're measuring here is the out-of-seat behaviors. Okay, we had two treatments, the Ritalin dosage and the therapy programs. The Ritalin dosage was at 3 levels, low, medium, and high. My therapy programs, I had 2 of them under investigation here, either behavioral or cognitive. In Part A, we considered the tests, which we wanted to look underneath the effect tests. Again, when we're doing those, we start at the bottom and work our way up. Because the interaction effect is significant here, we do not want to be looking at the dosage or therapy programs in isolation. We need to be considering those simultaneously or together, which is the interaction term here. We found out that the interaction term was significant, so that means that we're 95% certain that the effect of the therapy program depends on the Ritalin dosage. Now the next step is to do our multiple comparisons, and this could be used to identify like an optimal setting. Can I say we want to be low on this because this is the number of out-of-seat behaviors? So can I universally say that, this group right here is best? Is it significantly different than this group, for example? All right. Or can I say that this group tends to do the worst? Is that significantly different than the other combinations here? So we have a total of 6 different combinations here, right? Behavioral at low, medium, and high, and cognitive at low, medium, and high. So the Tukey HSD is going to make comparisons across all 6 of those. All right, so when I'm doing my multiple comparisons inside of the JMP package, the left-hand side has kind of the overall tests. When I'm considering the multiple comparisons, only one of these columns, okay, is going to be used here. I don't want to look at Ritalin dosage in isolation of the therapy program because that interaction is present. So I'm going to hide dosage. I do not want to make comparisons in the therapy programs in isolation of the dosage levels because there's interaction present. So I'm going to hide therapy program. The ones that I should be looking at here are the combinations of these dosage level therapy programs. And here are my averages across these 6 different combinations. I'm going to select Tukey HSD from this dropdown. And again, that's going to do the comparisons using Tukey's on a significant difference for these 6 different combinations. I do have a lot of comparisons that are being done here. I can do my ordered difference report. Okay, that's going to be down underneath here. And then that's going to put all of those individual pairwise comparisons in a little table for me here. Now let's consider the first here, this first row here, okay? This is comparing high cognitive to the low cognitive. That has a difference of 6. That's 6 on average. The difference between these two groups is 6. This is again out-of-seat behaviors. That is statistically significant. So I do have a difference between high cognitive and low cognitive. All right, so let's go back and make sure that makes sense with the graphs that we've been looking at. So I do have a significant difference between, let's find a graph. Oh, there it is right there. I do have a significant difference between the low cognitive, which are the people in this bucket here, against the high cognitive. And that makes sense because this is the minimum across all buckets and this is the maximum across all buckets. So I can say that the average of this group is statistically different than the average of this group because this p-value here is significant. Now let's talk about the next here. The next one down is going to be high cognitive against high behavioral. So let's go find those combinations. High cognitive is here. High behavioral is here. So I have a statistically significant difference here. So that arrow there is non-zero. I mean, I can see it's non-zero for these people, but if I were to do the study again and again and again, there's going to be a gap here between the number of out-of-seat behaviors cognitive and the number of out-of-seat behaviors behavioral when they're on the high Ritalin dosage level. So what does this mean? If that's the case, and I have a kid that's on the high dosage level of Ritalin, I should encourage, the school administrators or the parents or whatever, I should encourage that particular child be put in the behavioral treatment program, because I can see that this gap is real here. All right, this p-value for me, again, this one right here, 0.0198, is saying statistically this gap is real. So I should put a kid in the behavioral treatment program. They're going to benefit from that in terms of their out-of-seat behaviors than if we were to put them in the cognitive therapy program. How about this one over here? Let's look at low cognitive against low behavioral and see if that one's significant. So low cognitive and low behavioral. That's going to be this one right here where my cursor's at. Kind of hard to see that. Low behavioral and low cognitive. That gap is a difference of 3. Come over here, and that p-value is 0.1280. So that's not significant here. Not statistically significant. So this gap that I'm seeing here is not statistically significant. Which means that if I were to do this again and again and again, right, that blue line's going to be varying, that's going to be bouncing around, and the red line's going to be bouncing around. I cannot say that the blue line is going to stay away from the red line here, or this blue point is going to stay away from the red point here for low Ritalin dosage. So again, that p-value was 0.1280. I do not have statistical differences here. So what does that mean to a parent or a school administrator? If I have a child at the low dosage levels for Ritalin, I cannot statistically say that one of the therapy programs is better than the other one. So maybe I just leave that choice up to the parents or to the school administrators of what therapy program they want to use. I don't have a statistical way of saying one of these is better than the other. That was not the case over here at the high dosage level. Okay, so that's how those multiple comparisons can be used in practice. Right? We can identify kind of optimal combinations of the treatments so that we can obviously reduce the number of out-of-seat behaviors is the goal here. Here's your connected letterings report. Okay, so again, we said high cognitive was different than low cognitive. Okay, that's obvious because they don't have the same letters. High cognitive has an A, low cognitive has a C there, so those are different from one another. All right, so you can digest this information through this connected letters report. That's kind of our standard way of displaying that information. Okay. So that's kind of what all that was about there. To get that interaction plot, I guess I could show you how to get that interaction plot quick. From my output, I can just say, where is it at? LS means plot. That's going to be my interaction plot. And when I do that, I need to specify what do you want your terms. I did therapy program there because I wanted the 2 lines to be by the therapy program. Okay. The colors are backwards from what I had here, but you get the idea. You can turn off the confidence limits if you want. And unfortunately, the colors are backwards, but you get the idea there from what I did in the notes. Here's your order difference. So again, just talking about those different p-values and what they mean. So we just discussed all of those. We could do a contrast here. So again, like we did with the previous handout, we can do contrasts here. So a contrast again is just kind of a sub-question or sub-research question. And what we're doing here is to only consider the medium and high levels for Ritalin dosage. So I do not want to worry about what's happening with the other group, with the low. So if I consider only the medium and high, can I say there's an effect due to the therapy program? That's the question here. So that would be a contrast. So what's happening here is if I don't I'm kind of putting, well, I am putting the medium and the high into one bucket by themselves. So I'm going to take the 5 people that I had in this group and the 5 people that I had in this group, and I'm going to create a bucket of 10 people. Again, I don't really worry about what their dosage level is on, or if it's medium or high. So I'm going to combine those two, and I'm going to get the average of these 5 and these 5 together is about here, it looks like, about 56.5. And I'm going to do the same thing on the blue. I'm going to take the 5 people from this bucket and the 5 people from this bucket and combine them. They were both in the behavioral therapy program. All right, so just combine them and put that. You can see that's about 54. So can I say statistically that's a difference between this average and this average? That's going to be a contrast here. Now, I'm going to gain, by combining these people together, I'm going to gain power. In fact, I doubled my sample size when I combined them. So I'm going to gain power in my ability to determine whether or not I got significant differences here. All right, so that's advantageous. I'm going to be able to do a test with much more power than if I didn't do this test. So again, what Tukey's HSD did up above, or what we did up above, was just looked at these 5 compared to these 5, and these 5 against these 5. And in fact, I did these 5 against these 5 as well. That's what the Tukey's HSD is doing. But the contrast is a little bit different because I'm combining people from different buckets and putting them together. One more time, that's advantageous because I've doubled my sample size, so I have more power in determining statistical significance. So that's a contrast. And again, just like before, when I write out these contrasts, I need to write out the averages, do a little bit of algebra here to figure out what the coefficients are for each of these. So because I'm comparing the medium behavioral, okay, so because I'm comparing the behavioral against the cognitive, I'm going to put the medium dosage level and the high dosage level into the same bucket. So this is going to be plus 1/2 plus 1/2 here. Basically what that's doing is I'm averaging, right? I'm taking an average of all the people in this bucket and all the people in this bucket. Now the negative 1/2s here, those are going to be negative, so that's the other side of that contrast. That's going to be for the cognitive therapy program. Again, these coefficients are determined by doing a little bit of algebra like we had to before. When I do that, this is the p-value that I get out over here in the lower right-hand corner. And this is saying that I do have significant differences between the behavioral and cognitive therapy programs when I combine the people from the high and medium dosage levels together. So, if you don't worry about whether or not they're in the medium or the high, it is advantageous to put them in the behavioral therapy program. That's what this is saying. So one more time, it is advantageous to put somebody in the behavioral therapy program when you combine all those people in the medium and high. Okay, some final thoughts then. Okay, the test for interaction suggested that we could not consider the effect of Ritalin dosage independent of the therapy program. So we needed to worry about the combination of those two things. The multiple comparison suggests that the low cognitive has the least out-of-seat behaviors when we compare them against high cognitive and high behavioral. And also low cognitive against medium cognitive was also significantly different. I used that custom test to do a combination of the medium or high into a single group. And when I did that, I was able to say that the behavioral therapy program was indeed statistically better than the cognitive therapy program. Okay, that does it then for handout part B. Have a good day.